Hey guys, my name is Anthony, and in today's video we're going to be doing a video talking about my race in WOR at Brazil. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see more league racing content, then make sure to hit the like button and stick around by subscribing to the channel. And it's been actually quite a while since we've done a league racing video on the channel. I believe it's been around about 2 months. At the beginning of December was the last time I believe we did a league racing video. So a lot of you guys who are new to the channel, who have subscribed to the channel from the middle of December, probably have never seen a league racing video from me. So I'm gonna try and do these quite a bit more. It's just recently I've been so demotivated with league racing, especially since the new year. I've come back and I've just not really had the best of times since the new year, since the Christmas break really, when it comes to league racing. But we're back and we're going to be doing a lot more league racing content in the future. So as you guys can see now, we're on our quickest flying lap, which isn't a great lap, but we did go a little bit faster in some other laps, but we did make mistakes. So this was actually the fastest lap that we managed to do in the entire session that was valid. And again, as you can see, it's just not a great lap. We're not really using as much of the track as we should, and as you can see, we just don't have the confidence around this track. Brazil's never really been a strong track for me, to be honest with you guys. Even in F1 2019 it wasn't a strong track. It was actually pretty much my worst track on F1 2019, and on this one it's not really a great track either. But we do a 1 minute 6.9, which is slower than my practice sessions. In my practice sessions I was doing 0.7s, potentially 0.6s, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. And as you can see, we're going a little bit quicker and we ended up invalidating that lap. So that's pretty much qualifying over for us. And as you can see, we qualify in P9. We wouldn't really have been that far up the grid even with a pretty good lap from us, so the best we probably could have done is maybe 7th place. So I guess I'll take 9th place as a start for now. Everyone was just so close and so competitive in WOR, so I was sort of happy but sort of disappointed at the same time. And as you can see, it's raining for the race, and it's actually going to dry up towards the end, but this is late on towards the race, so for the majority of it is going to be raining. So we've got 4 lights, 5 lights, and away we go. And I have never driven a single lap of wet conditions at Brazil on F1 2020, so this first lap was really just me trying to just really take it easy because I didn't want to damage my wing. It was a very long race, and as I said before, I've just not really had a great time when it comes to league racing as of late, so I wanted to just try and do as best as I can and just try and get a decent result with this one. So as I said, it's raining. We've never been in wet conditions on this track before. I've actually not even done a race on this track on this game before, so to be thrown into the deep end was kind of a bit concerning. But I decided to just try and take it easy. As you can see, we could have went down the inside there of half, but I decided to just stay behind, hold myself back, and just be patient, try and make the moves as clean as possible with as much space as possible, so that I can just minimize the risk of me getting any sort of damage and stuff like that. The confidence isn't really there at this point, as you can see. You know, we're losing quite a bit of time on traction mainly, which you obviously don't want to be losing as much time on traction compared to the other guys, or else you're just going to lose a heck ton of time. But again, we just didn't have the confidence, so really it was just trying to build it up at this point. And I was checking at this point to see what the weather was like, because I knew that it was going to start raining a little bit heavier, and I sort of wanted to just keep on track of when that was going to be. But Jeff wasn't really that helpful, to be honest with you, so luckily I had some of you guys engineering for me in the live stream. And if you don't know, I actually do live stream these races over on Twitch, so make sure to go to the link in the description and make sure to follow me, because I will be racing the final race of WOR at Abu Dhabi on Tuesday at 8 PM UK time. So make sure to go to the link in the description and follow my Twitch so that you can see these races live and potentially even help engineer the race for me, because a lot of you guys, especially I believe it was Chili, so shout out to Chili, he really helped me with this one, just giving me the right calls when I needed it, just making suggestions on when I should pit, on what I should do in this race. So it was a big help from you guys, especially since I personally was just trying to concentrate on my driving, as I had no confidence and I was just trying to build up said confidence. Having an engineer has been really it's really helpful, to be honest with you. So I do think that for the next part of this game, when it comes to league racing, I might try and get an engineer, because a lot of people are getting engineers or asking people to engineer races for them, and it's really helping them make better judgments in certain situations, especially when it comes to wet conditions or safety cars or when to pit if it's drying up and stuff like that. So definitely something I'm going to think about in the future. But yeah, moving on to lap 7 now, and you can see we've lost a lot of time to halve. We've lost about 2 seconds, I believe, and that's because we made a big mistake, I think, going into the final corner or turn 1 on lap 6. So we've lost quite a lot of time, 2 seconds. I want to try and make that up as quickly as I can, but a virtual safety car comes out, and at this point you can see it's raining a lot heavier than it was at the beginning of the race. So I was asking the people in my chat if others had pitted already for the full wet tires, because it definitely was going to be for wet conditions at this point. And at the end of the lap, I decided to go into the pits and try and just use the full wet tires and see how they feel compared to the intermediates. A few people decided to stay out on the intermediates, and I'm still not sure if that was the right call, but for me personally, in hindsight, the right call was definitely to come in and pit for the full wet tires, as we slightly got held there by the Haas. But at the same time, I definitely thought it was going to be a pretty wise decision to go on the full wets. And it turns out that it was. And this pit exit is so awkward, even in dry conditions. So in wet conditions, I was really nervous going in and out of the pits, to be honest with you, with this race, because I have had experience on F1 2019 of doing a race around here and damaging your wing as soon as you come out of the pits. And it's not a great feeling. But as soon as I came out of the pits, that's when I realized this was definitely the right decision for me. I had a little bit more confidence on the full wet tires. The grip was there, it was more present, so I knew that I could push the car just a little bit more than I could compared to the intermediates at this point of the race. And this is where I started to build up that confidence that I needed to really push myself to be competitive in this race. So yeah, you can see we're just getting on the throttle a little bit earlier than we used to, and you know, our steering inputs are a little bit more smooth, and this is where the confidence was really starting to build up. So at this point I thought, okay, let's try and push for, you know, at least decent amount of points in this race, because if I can get decent amount of points, then maybe it could really build some momentum for me going into Abu Dhabi, and maybe we can have a good race there. As I said before, you know, it's not really been a great time for me in terms of league racing. But moving on to lap 10, you can see there's a full course safety car, and I believe Jeff and also the people in the chat were telling me that the rain was actually going to let up in a few laps. So because of that, I decided to use the safety car as a good opportunity to pit for the intermediate tires again, because if the rain is going to be letting up slightly, then it is going to go back to being intermediate conditions, and the intermediates are going to be the quicker tire to be on. And as you can see, even though it still looks as if it's raining quite heavily, it is more intermediate conditions than full wet conditions. And as we go on to lap 13 now, we're going on to the safety car restart. I decided to put the fuel mix onto standard to try and get a sort of balance between traction and just being able to be super quick off the line. And here we go, we get started, and as you can see, Recluse goes into the pits for the intermediates. So I made the best decision there, because if I had went into the pits at the same time as him, we would have been all the way at the back. And at this point, it was pretty much a similar situation to the start of the race. I just wanted to take it easy, but try and keep as close to this pack as I possibly can, so that if there's any mistakes from any of the other drivers, then I can really capitalize on that. And that's what I was sort of banking on this race quite a lot. Just being as smooth as possible with my own driving and being as careful as possible with my own driving, and just waiting until someone else made a mistake and then trying to capitalize on that as much as I can. So at the moment we've got VRT Tom ahead of us, who is one of the quickest guys in this tier, on this grid anyway. So if I can get past him, then obviously that would be a boost of confidence for me. I just try and keep up with the guys ahead whilst passing as many people as possible. And then we've got LGS behind us as well, who I've not really had a great time with in terms of league racing recently. I've kind of knocked into him quite a few times and actually caused his race to go down the drain. So yeah, I kind of wanted to stay as far away from LGS as possible so that I didn't end up just knocking into him for some reason and end up causing a DNF for him. As you can see, moving on to lap 16 now, VRT Tom is making the move on Cam, who is still on the full wet tires. So as you can see, he's just so slow compared to the intermediate tires. And now that Tom's made the move on Cam, I knew that I needed to make the move on Cam as quickly as possible so that I don't lose as much time to VRT Tom as possible. But luckily for us on this lap, Cam decided to go into the pit so we could just use our ERS to try and keep up with Tom as much as possible. And then moving on to lap 19 now, there's a three-way battle for 4th place, I believe, and I just wanted to stay behind whilst also getting ready just in case they end up making a crash or they end up making a mistake, that I can then capitalize on that mistake and then move up the grid myself. As we've got LGS actually trying to go down our inside, looking for the move. I defend it as much as possible because again, I want to make sure that I am right behind the 3 of these people, just so that if there is a mistake made, then I can capitalize on it as much as possible. And there's a little bit of contact between Tom and Arctic in the Haas there, so I knew that I wanted to make the move on Arctic as soon as possible. He pitted for the intermediate tires around the same time as me, so you know we do have somewhat the same freshness of tires. So going into turn 1, I brake much later than him, go down the inside on the left for the first corner so that we can have the outside on the second corner and really get that traction down going onto this straight in sector 1, and we make the move stick. I use as much ERS as I can on this straight just so that we can keep the position. And now we've got Mr. Pigeon Munch, who is on the pad actually, so you know his traction is going to be a lot better than mine. However, I feel as if in this sort of conditions that the wheel is a lot better to have in this situation, just because you're able to be a lot more smooth, and he's also on full wets as well, so I need to try and get past him as soon as possible so I can keep up with Tom. So we make sure to turn a little bit more than we have to for that corner, just so that we can open up the angle to go on the outside of Mr. Pigeon Munch, and we make the move stick. So at this point, again, I just want to try and keep up with Tom as much as possible, because he went for the move previously, I believe on lap 16, and ended up getting a penalty. So right now he's got a 3-second time penalty, so if we can stick within 3 seconds of him, then we're guaranteed to get his position. And then moving on to lap 24 now. At this point, a lot of people actually decided to go into the pits, or were thinking about going into the pits, because it was starting to dry up slowly, but I still didn't really feel as if it was time to go into the pits at this point. As you can see, we did get the sort of graphics from Jeff saying that we were supposed to pit for intermediate tires again on this lap, as we get our second warning, I believe. So we didn't really want to get another warning, or else we're going to lose that position to VRT Tom, who's now 5 seconds up the road. But yeah, as I was saying, we got that graphic from Jeff saying that it was time to pit, but I thought that it still just wasn't ready. I wanted to try and hold these tires off as much as possible until dry conditions, because if we pitted again for intermediates, we were going to lose so much time, because then we're going to have to pit for the soft tires again. So I wanted to try and hold these tires out as long as possible. So coming up to the final corner now, there are people who are going into the pits already right now for the soft tires, but I felt as if the track just wasn't yet ready for the soft tires. Even though the DRS was just enabled, I still felt as if the track was too slippery, so I actually decided to go for one extra lap on the intermediates, and then at the end of lap 25 going on to lap 26, that's when I decided to go into the pits for the soft tires. And in hindsight, I probably should have just went with the norm and actually pitted on the previous lap, because we did lose quite a bit of time. As you can see, LGS, who was behind us, is now a couple seconds down the road, so that was a pretty big undercut because of just the track drying quite a bit during our in lap on the intermediates. So now we've got BRT Fury and we've got LGS ahead of us as well, who have, I believe he has 5 seconds or 6 seconds worth of penalties at this point. So I wanted to try and keep up with them, but on the dry tires, I just didn't have the pace, to be honest with you. As I said, Brazil's not really a great track for me, so I didn't have the pace. So we lost the position to Presto, who was a lot quicker. And I believe someone told me to go on to 2 front wing for the downforce, but I had actually completely forgot about that and I had stuck with 3. So yeah, we were losing quite a lot of straight line speed, especially compared to, you know, people like Presto and Kai, who I believe were running 2.7. But at this point, we're on the final lap now, and I decided to make the move on Kai because Presto ahead has 6 seconds worth of time penalties, so we're definitely going to gain the position on him. But you can see that Fury ended up picking up a penalty during the last couple of laps, so he is just underneath the 3-second window. So I wanted to try and get in within those 3 seconds so I can get his position as well. But we just used all of our ERS on the start finish line straight, and that allowed Kai to get ahead of us on the DRS straight at the end of sector 1. And I was a little bit disappointed by this because I thought I would lose just a little bit too much time to Fury, who you can see is now 2.9 seconds up the road. So I thought maybe if we can just keep as close to Kai as possible, we can still get that position on Fury. But you can see now it's 2.9, so it's very close. It's 3.1. We're really just right on the edge of that gap to be able to get the position on Fury. As we come up to the final couple of corners now, Days Rhombus ends up winning, and the championship's already over at this point. I believe Presto won it at the US Grand Prix, so I didn't race in that one, but yeah, he ended up winning it there. So the championship is over, but we're still fighting for some points just to try and get as high up the grid as possible in the championship. But as we cross the line, we finish in P7, just a tenth, in fact less than a tenth behind Fury. So he did manage to do just enough to get 6th position from us. But yeah, we finally managed to complete a race and a decent result as well. So at this point I was pretty happy with the result. Obviously Brazil's not a great track for me, so to be able to finish the race with no penalties and still get a decent position at this point, I'll take it, because as I said from the beginning of the year, I've just not had a great time when it comes to league racing, to be honest, and that's the main reason why I've not really made any league racing content in so long. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it and you're still watching by this point and you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that, and if you like the video, make sure to hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in my next video.